We have a case, 42-year-old woman, okay, mother of two, diagnosed with lung cancer in her left lung. All right. So she goes into the doctor. She's got lung cancer in the left lung. They want to see if it's only contained in the left lung or if it's metastasized outside the body, because if it's in the left lung, they say they can successfully remove the lung because you can live on one lung and she will be cancer-free. So families, obviously you're praying about it. Everything wants to be perfect. She goes in, she has all the tests done. Comes back perfect. It's only in the left lung. We have documented medical evidence that it has not metastasized. Okay. So surgery is scheduled 2 weeks out. Okay, again, 42 years old, to remove the left lung, which has cancer. A week later, she's in a car accident, not caused by her, somebody else completely. Not a horrible accident, but she does get banged up. She breaks her ribs on the right side.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
A broken rib on the right side punctures the right lung.
The good one.
And causes a collapsed lung.
Jeez.
So now they can't take out the left lung until the right lung has healed, because you can't live without any lungs. And so they say, we've got to let this right lung, the lung that has no cancer, heal. It's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. In the interim, the cancer metastasizes, moves outside the body. She ultimately dies of cancer because removing the lung won't help anything, and she passes away. And my lawsuit is that but for the car accident, she would have had surgery to remove the lung with cancer, and she would have been fine. That delay put into motion a series of actions which allowed for cancer to spread, which cancer can spread quickly, and she ultimately died. And so my question to everybody out there and to all of you, what do you think about the case? What do you think about that argument? And what pitfalls do you see? Okay, so, and the reason I ask, and I'll tell you one thing that I hate to say this because I don't want to plant it in your mind, but on my family, the McIntyre family, we have a group text exchange, and I presented this case to my family. Okay. And what I found is what I often find with jurors is that I told the exact story that I told, and that the first question was not focusing at all on the defendant. Was he drunk? Was he driving? Was he speeding? Was he sleeping? It was she a smoker? Okay, they wanted to know if she had cancer because of her own fault. Okay, it has nothing to do with any of the case, but that was an issue, and that's important to me to know because I want to be able to address that with the jury, because jurors often focus on the victim rather than the person that causes the crash and or causes whatever happened. And so I need to know that. And so there were a number of other questions. I'm not going to plan it here because I want to know what people think. I really do want people to email me. But what are your guys' thoughts about this? What are your concerns? What do you see about it? Tell me your thoughts.
Well, first of all, what is the actual law? Like, is it against the driver?
It is against the driver.
Basically ending her life in... Well,
and that's another thing. So indirectly. So there are things that we can't tell a jury in a jury trial that judges don't let us tell. Okay. And the one thing that we never get to... And all of you out there listening, if you're ever on a trial, especially mine, know this. The defendant has insurance. We just can't tell you. That we are not permitted to tell the jury that the person driving down the road has insurance that will pay this. And not being able to tell them that is very, very difficult, because sometimes jurors think what you just thought, which is, well, how are they supposed to pay? It's going to wreck their life. They're not going to have any money. We're actually going against an insurance company, but we can't tell the jury that. And so any damages a jury would reward would be covered by, to the extent the person has insurance. Oklahoma is a compulsory insurance state. You have to have at least $25,000. A lot of people have more. I have a multi-million-dollar policy. In this case, there's $1 million policy. We'll never be able to tell the jury that. So any recovery would go against insurance. I see. But you would not know that in a jury setting. What's your next question?
Well, no, for some reason, my first question was, okay, who are we going after? The insurance company?
You don't get to name an insurance company. You have to sue the individual. So it would be my client's estate. My client's estate, which represents her husband and her children, her adult children, against the person that caused the crash.
How do you charge someone like that who had no preconceived notion of her condition?
It wasn't intent.
There's no intent.
The driver,
And my response as a lawyer, if we're in a setting, is intent doesn't matter. It's what is the outcome. Whether you intentionally run into somebody from the back, or whether you did it because you were distracted, it doesn't matter, from the sense that the person that got in front had zero response. They didn't do anything wrong. They're sitting at a stoplight, if this was the scenario, and they did nothing wrong. So intent doesn't matter. It's, was there a harm caused that was not caused by the person that was injured, because you're responsible for that. Your kid may not purposely throw a ball through your neighbor's window in the garage, but you're still responsible for the damages if your kid throws a window through the garage. So, but it is a good question. It is a good question, because that's how jurors think. What's your next question?
Did you mention anything about the driver being impaired in any way?
I did not. And so in in this case, it's you have cases where people are texting and driving. You have people where they're drinking and driving, they're speeding, and then you have cases sometimes where people say, "I just didn't see them."
Yeah.
Okay, for any reason. I mean, I've had people rear end my client sitting at a stoplight on a bright sunny day. And you say, well, how did you not see him? It's a car, and they don't have an explanation. They say, I just don't know. And it's because you can be distracted in your car in your head by something going on in your car. And literally, have you ever had one of those moments where you're driving and you make it about 4 or 5 miles down the road and you realize you don't even remember the last 4 or 5 miles?
Yes.
So those things happen. So.
Do you have a digital trail from the person that caused the accident? If
we're just into the case, we will get that.
I got you.
We will find out. Why would that be important to you?
Well, I mean, if they were texting or maybe not doing a hands-free call, I mean, it's a number of things.
And those things would all come into play, obviously. Again, from a plaintiff lawyer standpoint, it doesn't matter as to how the event occurred. It's that the event occurred. But for the crash, she doesn't die.
Right.
But you're right. That helps elevate it in some juror's mind, whether she was texting, whether just not paying attention. What other questions?
Why was the surgery scheduled like 2 weeks later? How come the surgery didn't happen sooner?
As you might guess, doctors and hospitals have a surgery schedule. You can't go into, I just had heart surgery.
Yeah.
Okay, I had my angiogram. I woke up thinking they were going to tell me maybe I needed a stent. Instead, they say we need to have quadruple open heart bypass surgery. That doesn't mean the doctors are ready right then. So, doctors have their schedule. They've already got on their schedule a week out, sometimes 2 weeks out, a number of surgeries. In my case, my doctor's doing surgery every day.
Sure.
And so to elevate me means to back some other person up. And so if they feel like it can successfully wait, and in this case, a 2-week delay was not going to cause it to metastasize. A 2-month delay did.
Sure.
But that's a good question.
Wow.
What else?
Like 1 second changed her life.
1 second. And it's like that in every
Unreal.
case. I can't tell you how many times I've had that if the family, somebody's passed away, if they would have left 1 minute sooner or 1 minute later,
So
they would
sad.
not even have been at the scene of the crash.
Exactly.
Which just tells you life can end in an instant. Nobody's guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
You walk out your door today thinking you're going to have a great day, and that might be your last day on this earth.
Yeah.
And it might come down to a factor of 1 second here or there. And had it been sooner or later, you would have been. You get on TikTok right now or get on YouTube and watch things falling from buildings, okay? Things fall, and you'll see something fall from building that will miss somebody by 3 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Where a half a second sooner it would have crushed them. Sometimes it's that quick.
Yep.
So let's say we were a jury.
Right.
What would our question be that we
What do
needed
we
to-
get for lunch?
What would we be deliberating on with this situation?
Right.
So this case would probably take a week to trial. I would have to bring in experts to not only talk about causation of the crash itself and how it happened, whether they were drinking, driving, texting, and explain the cause of the crash. Then I have to bring in medical testimony because a juror is going to want to know with certainty from medical testimony, okay, was it really contained within the right lung or had it already metastasized, because that matters. So we will bring in medical testimony to say definitively here are the tests.
Here are the scans.
And the reason we know this is we wouldn't have done the surgery to remove the lung unless we knew that was going to fix it.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to establish that, yes, it was all contained. And I will have a doctor say that had the surgery occurred to remove the lung with cancer, she would be alive here today. It's only because there was a delay which allowed metastasize that then she died from.
Will the driver have to take the stand?
A defendant doesn't even have to show up. 95% of the time, the defendant's obviously there because a jury doesn't like it if one of the parties isn't there. A juror thinks, I'm here,
That takes
you
the
should
time.
be here.
Yeah.
And so, in all likelihood, it would be very, very rare that the defendant wouldn't be there. It would be even rarer that if a defendant's not there, that they're not going to take the stand. Because I will call them in my case if they're not going to call them in their case. So, yes, they will.
So based on the information you've gathered so far, do you know going in what sort of percentage you have to win?
I tell clients all the time that song "All I Do Is Win Win" was written about me. I've been practicing almost 30 years. I've tried a lot of cases. I've only lost 3 in 29 years, and so I always walk in thinking I'm going to win. I'm going to be successful, and I almost always am. Although I tell clients I've won cases that were a technical win that felt like a loss, and what I mean by that is I might have thought, okay, I want X number of dollars for this case, and that's a win. And I go in and a jury gives me much less. Is that a win? Yes, plaintiffs win. Do I feel like it's a win? No, I didn't get for my client what I thought I should get.
Yeah.
But I think my case, anytime I decide to take a case, you got to remember, I only get paid if I'm successful.
Right.
I work on a contingency fee. I'm not billing by the hour, which means I have to believe in my case too. And I take a case because I believe in it. And if I believe in it, I think I'm going to win. I always walk in thinking I'm better than the other lawyer. I always think I'm going to win. That's just my mindset.
You kind of have to.
And is that a little arrogant? Yes. But I'm not going to go in defeated. It does my client no good if I go in and go, I don't know, that guy's better than me. You know, I've never once thought that in my whole career.
Yeah.
Chime in.
And email me and tell me, Noble, I love the case, here's why. Noble, I hate the case, here's why.
Yeah.
Noble, I'd love to hire you. Noble, you're a terrible lawyer. Those of you that say I'm a terrible lawyer, you people have no idea what you're talking about. I'm extremely good at what I do.
Noble, where's my 25 bucks?
I'll Venmo you.
Yeah.